everyone. Welcome to Achieving Success with Olivia Atkin. I'm your host, Olivia Atkin. Each week we will discuss the roadmap of achieving your personal and professional success. In these solo episodes, I pull back the curtain on podcasting, entrepreneurship, and personal success. You'll hear the strategies I use, the lessons I've learned, and the honest stories that shaped me. So you can build not just a successful podcast, but a business and life you're proud of. The other day, I wrapped up a podcast interview that honestly left me speechless. My guest, someone who has been interviewed dozens of times, looked at me and said, I've never shared that before. I've heard that line more times than I can count. Celebrities, business leaders, everyday professionals, all saying the same thing. I feel safe here. And to me, that's the greatest compliment a host can ever receive. And it really hits hard every single time I hear it. Because that's what real connection is. It's not about having the perfect question, the biggest guest, or the best equipment. It's about creating a space where people feel seen, heard, and understood. Sometimes my episodes have felt like therapy sessions, not just for my guests, but for me too. Because when we're willing to show up as humans, as we all are, that's when all the walls come down. Connection isn't created through perfection. It's created through presence. When you show up authentically, you give others permission to do the same. One of my favorite things about podcasting is seeing how far the ripple effect of connection reaches. I've had listeners reach out to me and say, I'm not in this guest industry, but this episode hit me right when I needed it. One person told me they never met anyone in the military, but after hearing an episode about transition from service to civilian life, it helped them navigate their own career massive change they were going through. That's the power of connection. It transcends titles, industries, and experiences. And it's not just in podcasting, it's the same in business. When you build relationships based on trust, curiosity, and not transactions, you open doors that metrics just cannot measure. Never underestimate the quiet reach of your work. When you lead with intention, your words and actions will find the people who need them most, even if you never know it. And that's something that sits with me all the time, is that I know daily people are listening to my podcast because I see the numbers that never reach out to me, that never connect with me, but they're listening and it's helping them. If you had to tell me and you talked to me in high school Olivia that one day she'd be giving a TEDx talk, she would have laughed. And trust me, she would have laughed at you hard. Back in school, I took business classes all 4 years of high school. Shout out to Mr. Wolf, who made me fall in love with business even more than I already loved it. We watched TED Talks, dissected them, and I remember thinking, wow, these people are really changing the world. I never imagined I'd be one of them. Fast forward, and my podcast had been out for less than a year when someone organizing a TEDx event in Dallas reached out to me. They listened to my show, connected with my guests, and said, we have one spot left on the stage, and we think it's yours. 8 weeks later, I was standing on that stage giving a talk about fear, voice, and power. And if you want to check it out, it's called Defeating Your Biggest Enemy, You. That moment changed everything for me, not just because of the talk itself, but because it reminded me of this truth. Connection creates opportunity. You never know who's listening, who's watching, or who's talking about you in rooms you don't even know exist. Be intentional with how you show up Every interaction, every episode, every conversation is a seed, and some grow into opportunities far beyond what you can imagine. People often tell me that my superpower is making others feel seen and feel heard. And while that's flattering, I think it's something we can all do if we slow down long enough to listen. To truly connect, you have to be curious. You have to care about what's not being said, as well as how something is being said. That's something my friends, mentors, and clients have taught me. Take my friend Scott Ferguson, host of Time to Shine podcast. We check on each other very often, celebrating wins, calling each other out, and joking around. One day I teased him for actually being home for once instead of traveling, because if you know Scott, he's an amazing speaker and he is traveling almost every week of the year. And he laughed at me and said, "You're busting my chops, aren't you?" That's connection, honesty, and human, and humor and care. It's also in those moments with clients when they realize that the small changes we've made together are actually moving mountains. When I can hear their excitement through the phone, that joy in their voice is everything. It shows me that what I'm doing is not only making an impact, but empowering them as well. Connection is about being present, paying attention, and letting people know they matter, because we all matter. Connection thrives on consistency and care. Check in, follow up, celebrate wins. Don't underestimate the impact of showing up when it's inconvenient. Let's be honest. We live in a world that rewards noise. Every scroll, every story, every post is all about highlight reels and what I really call A-list moments. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking everyone else has it figured out. But what we don't see are the late nights, the doubts, the behind the scene chaos, the real stuff that makes the highlight reels and those A-list moments even possible. That's what frustrates me most about the digital world. How easy it is to confuse visibility with connection. But here's what gives me hope. Every time I record an episode, have a real conversation, or hear from a listener who says, "I felt that," it's proof that authenticity still matters. For me, that sometimes looks like navigating unpredictable days. When my boyfriend gets a call and gets called away with the Coast Guard, my schedule flips upside down. More than sometimes I think he even realizes, because I don't talk about it that much, but I've learned to be honest about it. Someone will ask me, "How's your day going?" And I'll say, "Honestly, it's been wild. I'm grateful to be here right now." Because connection isn't about perfection, it's about presence. Lead with honesty, not a performance. People connect with your truth, not your highlight reel or your A-list moment. If you want to build genuine connection that drives real growth in your business, in your podcast, or in your life, here are 3 steps you can start practicing right now, like today. And I want you to start practicing them today. The first is listen to understand, not to reply. Ask questions that make people think. Be curious. Real connection starts when people feel understood. The second is be generous without keeping score. Give value, share resources, refer opportunities without expecting something in return. Relationships grow in trust, not in transactions. Protect your energy is number 3. Connection doesn't mean saying yes to everyone. And trust me, I used to be on that mind path of I have to say yes to everyone and every opportunity when I was working in professional sports, when I was working in corporate, and even when I started my own business. Know when to release relationships that no longer align. even friendships. Space creates room for new, authentic connections to enter. And when I was deciding, even on a personal side, some friendships to end, did I outgrow them? Were their negativity really affecting my day to day? How I thought, not just about the friendship and how I had to show up for them, but also about that spilling into my business. It got to a point where I had a very close friend and I had to say, listen, this is like, we are not in the same space anymore. We have grown, and that is okay. But, you have to be honest in those moments. And by doing that, like I mentioned, you create space for new, authentic connections to enter. So I then ended up really freeing up my mind, not feeling pressured, not feeling awkward every time I reached out to that person or talked to that person or tried to hang out with them. And I entered doors for friendships and connections that not just align with my business, because that friend was not anywhere in my business. They were a very big supporter of what I was doing, but we could just be who we were. However, my new friends, we have a lot of things in common. We are each other's cheerleaders. We are the one checking in on each other, and it's no longer a one-way street. And so for me, it gave me the ability to say, okay, not only did I say, okay, I need to cut ties, but it also made me realize what kind of friendships, how I wanted people to reciprocate how I was showing up for them and have them show up for me. And it really did allow space for others to enter. And in fact, because that negativity was gone and my mind was cleared, it allowed me to show up in business and in podcasting better. It made me feel less stressed, and it allowed even more people to enter. Instead of a 1-for-1, it was like a 5-versus-1. So my mini challenge for you this week is reach out to 3 people, personally or professionally, and connect with them. Do not have an agenda, not to pitch, not to sell, just to check in. Ask how they're doing, celebrate their wins, offer encouragement. Then notice how that energy starts to connect and come back to you in ways you didn't even expect. Connection is a muscle. The more intentionally you use it, the stronger your network, brand, and relationships become. In this episode, if this episode resonated with you, I want to hear from you. Share your story, your connections, your moments of authenticity, and let's keep this conversation going. You can reach out to me directly through the links in the description. And if you're ready to grow your podcast, your business, or your personal brand through real strategy and genuine connection, let's work together. Because when you lead with connection, you don't just grow your numbers, you grow your impact. I'm Olivia Atkin, and this is Achieving Success with Olivia Atkin. Until next time, stay curious, stay human, and stay connected.